Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Unfortunately, the Montenegro vlogs have come to an end, but that means that I am back with another travel guide, sharing all you need to know if you are planning a trip to Montenegro. When to go, where to go, how to get around, what we spend, and so on. If you are watching this, you are probably one of the lucky few people who are going to Montenegro this summer or maybe after, because Montenegro was not very popular until maybe 5 years ago. Most of the tourism is built up along the coastline, but it is definitely worth seeing more of the country than that. So let's get into everything you need to know to make the most of your Montenegro trip. So when should you plan your trip to Montenegro? It's actually quite contradictory. The wet season is from April to September, so it's actually the high season. But there's pretty much no way to avoid rain in Montenegro because Podgorica, which is the capital, is the wettest capital or city in all of Europe. Rain is very frequent in Montenegro, but along the coast in the summertime you should be fine. A thunderstorm is quite frequent, especially up on the mountains. The clouds kind of gather. It has a very special geography where the coastline pretty much goes up into mountains right from the start, and that does make the clouds kind of gather up there. But along the coast, especially during the summertime, it should be mostly dry and you should be able to get up to 30 degrees, pretty mild temperatures that are definitely enjoyable. Late spring to autumn are also really good times to travel. The coastline won't be as busy, and especially after the summer and autumn time, the water along the coast is nice and warm from warming up all summer, so you can definitely still go for a dip. For any outdoor activities, like more towards the inside of the country, it is better to go in summertime because that is when all the hiking trails are best accessible, because the trails that are very high up on the mountain, especially in springtime, might still be snowed on and might not be in the best conditions to be hiking on. An important thing when visiting the cities or certain places along the coast is that you check the times when the ferries will be there as well, especially in Kotor. The cruise ship pretty much overshadows the entire old town because Montenegro is not big. It has 633,000 inhabitants, which is not much at all. It feels like the country is very quiet. There's not many people, like no big cities at all. Even the popular ones are not that big. You can pretty much walk from one side to another in no time. So when a cruise ship like that arrives, it feels like it just takes up the whole thing. So try and avoid the times that the cruise ships dock. Next up is how to get around. We drove there by car, so we had our own car to get around, and you can rent a car as well, which I do think would be favorable over taking the buses. The buses do go between the bigger cities, but to get to specific national park entrances and so on, you might have to then rent a bike or take a taxi to get to the actual spot where you want to be. Parking is super affordable in Montenegro. It's usually less than €1 per hour, from 50 cents in Tivat to 80 cents at the Kotor Old Town. If you are renting apartments, which accommodation I will be coming back to in a bit, but make sure that if you do have a car, that the parking is included or available at your accommodation as well. As soon as we arrived in Montenegro, my boyfriend said, "You are not driving anymore until we leave the country," because we arrived from Croatia and we started in Herceg Novi, drove all around the bay to Kotor, and then our place that we stayed was between Kotor and Tivat. And as soon as we got on that road, it is a road that is only suitable for one car, but it is a two-way road, and it's just along the edge of the bay, and it was hard stopping at times. And this was not the only road that was like this in Montenegro, but also Albania. The roads can be a bit tricky. So if you have a rental car, keep this in mind. You might get into some tight spots. Also, the scenic route that we took along the Skolar Lake was absolutely beautiful. One of the best things we've done. But same thing, it is a road that is only accessible for one car, but cars do come both ways. And when driving in Montenegro, you must have your headlights on at all times. If you prefer to arrive by train to Montenegro instead of arriving by plane, then that is a very great idea, especially if you are taking the train from Belgrade to Bar. This is one of the most beautiful scenic train rides you can do in the Balkans. The most scenic part actually goes between Podgorica, the capital of Montenegro, and Bar, which is on the southern coast. So you could actually just do that part of the journey if you are willing to and if you have the time. And you don't have to worry about your transportation then being in another place, then it's definitely something to look into. It takes about 1 hour and only costs a few euros. Talking about the euro, yes, Montenegro uses the euro. It also has European license plates, but it is not in the European Union, which we found very strange. But this means that you won't be able to use your telephone or your cell phone plan if you have one that is European without an extra charge, because usually within Europe you can use the same plan, but in Montenegro that is not the case. So you will have to look into getting a local SIM card. We went for a SIM card by one, which cost us 25 euros because we got the one that also works in Albania and Bosnia. So those are the countries that are not EU within the Balkan, because we were on a bigger road trip. So that way we only paid for one SIM card. It included 1 terabyte of data inside of Montenegro and then another 11 in the other countries. So that was great. That solved one problem for all the countries all at once, but they do have more affordable plans with less data, but still more than enough to get you through the time of your visit. All right, now let's have a look at where you can go. In total, we spent 10 nights in Montenegro. We spent 3 on Kotor Lake, 3 in Cetinje, which is the old capital, and from there we visited the Lipa Cave, Shkodër Lake, and the Lovćen National Park, which I'll go more into detail in a bit. But from there, we went to Biogradska National Park. We spent 1 night near there. In between, we did go to northern Albania. We went to Kamani Lake and Tet, but then we went to Biogradsk National Park, which is where we spent the night, visited the national park the next day, and then drove all the way to Jablonjak. In Jablonjak, we spent 2 nights. Then we spent 1 more night in Nikšić, before then exiting the country and moving on to Bosnia. So that is what we did, and here is what we saw. Around Kotor Bay, we visited Kotor. We did this just in an evening after the cruise ship had left. So this was from 5-ish until a bit after 7, I believe. We just went for a stroll through the city, but if you have more time, then you can hike all the way up to the viewpoints and to the big fortress all the way up. My boyfriend nicknamed this the Great Wall of Montenegro, so you can only imagine it is quite a mission to get up there, but the views over the entire bay are definitely worth it. Then the next day we took a boat trip on the lake. We did this with our neighbor. It cost us 65 euros for the 2 of us, and we had the boat all to ourselves. He picked us up at our accommodation, which was not in town at all. He was our neighbor, so the boat was literally next door. And then he took us to the 2 islands on the lake, the beautiful church that is there. And then, of course, we spent some time in Perast as well, which you can see all of this in detail in the separate vlogs that we made. And then 1 more day we spent exploring the entire coast. So we drove past Tivat, which is kind of like the luxury yacht port of Montenegro. It is worth just having a look, but there is not that much other than that. Then from Tivat we went to Budva. We couldn't visit Budva right away because it was full on a Saturday afternoon. Like, there was not a single parking spot available. So we decided to first drive to some waterfalls between Budva and Sveti Stefan. We visited the waterfalls. We went to Sveti Stefan, spent about an hour there. You cannot go onto the island of Sveti Stefan, but right next to this beach is another beach, which has a really cool alley going through rocks, and yeah, it's really, really beautiful. So I highly recommend the beach near Sveti Stefan. And then we drove back to Budva, where we explored the old town and just enjoyed the incredible views of the Montenegrin coastline. Then we moved to Cetinje, where, like I said, we visited the Lipa Cave, the old capital. We did a scenic drive to Lake Škodër, but we did take the boat ride for 15 euros per person. but it wasn't really what we expected. To see the pelicans and like the special migratory birds, you really need to be there at like 6 a.m. for the very first boat rides, because once the first boats have gone, they've been scared off and you won't see them for the rest of the day. And the lilies are not there unless it's the end of May. So we were kind of disappointed with this. We also went to Mount Lovćen, which is the highest mountains of Montenegro. There is a mausoleum, an incredible view over Cetinje, the lake, Kotor Bay. You can pretty much see all of the coastline from this highest point. So it is worth a drive by as well. Then, like I said, we visited Biogradsk National Park. We saw the Tara River Canyon, went to Žabljac where we saw the Black Lake. You can do rafting and lots of water and adrenaline activities as well on the river. There is a zip line going across the Tara Bridge. And around Žabljac, there is a lot more hiking than just the Black Lake. But I got sick. I can really recommend the health services and the hospital services in Montenegro, actually. They really treated me super well. There was always someone speaking really good English, even in the hospitals, so we didn't have a language barrier at all. But yeah, we didn't do any multi-day treks. We didn't see many of the alpine villages in the Durmitor National Park, but oh well, we did see the highlight of it. And then we went down to Ostrog Monastery, which was also another highlight of our trip. Inside of this monastery, there's a few chapels that we couldn't film inside that are decorated with murals that are just breathtaking, honestly stunning. And I did have to take my boyfriend to the shooting range, which I explained in the video why I'm not a big fan of those, especially given the history of the Balkans and these countries. I don't think guns should be seen as toys or should be desensitized. I do not like playing with guns. But still, I did take my boyfriend to accomplish his childhood dream at the shooting range near Podgorica. And now let's get into the budget and what we spent. I already mentioned a few of the prices for the activities, but I'll go into detail of everything. First things first, on accommodation, we spent 18 euros on average per day. All of these costs are daily averages. So 18 euros, and we stayed in a few cheaper places, in a few nicer places, but overall we enjoyed our accommodations in Montenegro the most out of the entire Balkans because you get such great value for money. First things first, apartments Đurović on the Kotor Lake. We had our own little pontoon that we could enjoy the sunset on. We had a balcony, a fully equipped kitchen. It was incredible. We loved this apartment. I will link everything in the description below, by the way. Next up, we stayed at Camp Oaza near the Lipa Cave, which it hadn't really started up yet, but it was very affordable. They only have one bungalow, I believe, so you will have to be quick in the high season. But they have a beautiful terrace looking out on the lake, the mountains. You can even see the Albanian mountains in the distance. It's incredible, and they have some amazing food. We had a barbecue dinner there for 15 euros per person, and it was just so delicious. Next up was our night near Biogradsk National Park, which we spent at the Tara Valley Eco Lodges. They were bungalows as well. They didn't have their own kitchen, but they were super close to the national park. They had some outdoor lounging area and your own private bathroom. Next up, Žabljac, we stayed at Durmitor Bungalows, and this was amazing. They had a big outdoor campfire area, a grill that you could use. The bungalow itself had its own little terrace, which had a lot of visitors as well. And the kitchen was very spacious, fully equipped, bathroom, bedroom, just anything we could wish for. And some really great views. And then the last one was an apartment in Nikšić, which it was just a simple Airbnb thing. It was called Panorama Apartments something, maybe even on Google. But something to take into account is that a lot of these places, since they are people's personal places, you won't be able to pay online with your cards. They kind of expect you to bring cash. So definitely make sure that you have cash on hand to be paying your accommodations once you arrive. It's also a super simple way of supporting the local people instead of staying at big resorts along the coast. I definitely prefer staying with the locals. When it comes to food, we usually made sure that we had a kitchen at the apartment we were staying, so we mostly were cooking and just going to the local supermarket. But if you are eating out, it is very high in protein. What I mean by that is it is a lot of meat. We love the burek, but you can have also just the cheese and the spinach burek, but we love the bureks. It was just a very affordable, simple lunch option that we would get at the bakeries. There are these devapsitsi, which are kind of like the kebabs. They're tiny sausages. Usually you get 7 or 8 with some fries. And ayvar. Ayvar is like the local condiment, which is made from bell peppers, some tomato, but mostly peppers. Of course, mixed grill, but it's really affordable, super filling and delicious. We got 2 tanks of diesel in Montenegro to kind of finish our 10 days trip. And we paid €1.36 per liter. Then of course you pay parking here or there, but like I said, maybe you'll be spending €1.60 for 2 hours, so I'm not even gonna mention it. When it comes to the activities, like I said, we spent 65 on the boat tour in Kotor Bay. The Lipa cave cost us €16 per person, actually $15.90. The cave visit did come with a tour included. The boat tour on Skoda Lake was 15 per person, which wasn't private. Biogradsk National Park entry was €4 per person. Durmitor National Park was €5 per person, bringing the daily average total to only €40 per day. Very well done of us. We definitely could have done more hiking, which is obviously free. That is what we got up to in Montenegro. A few things that might be interesting for you as well is that, like I said, you could combine it with northern Albania. We really enjoyed our visit to Tet and Komani Lake, but it wasn't without bumps in the road, quite literally. You can go ahead and watch that vlog as well if you're interested. And we will be going back to Albania, and I'll make a separate Albania guide as well, in case you want to combine both of these countries in an itinerary. I'll make a separate itinerary guide as well. If you do want to see a bit more of the area around, you have more than a week or 10 days, and you want to see some places like go to Mostar, go to Dubrovnik. I'll be making videos about all of these places, and I'll be making like a little itinerary guide where I give you some longer itineraries or some combinations with Montenegro as well. Another thing to know is that Google Translate does not recognize Montenegrin as a language, so you will have to look things up in Bosnian. We mostly only had to do this for menus, for example. Other than that, we were fine. An important thing is that shops are closed on Sunday, so you won't be able to get groceries or anything unless it's from a gas station on a Sunday. So plan ahead. And if you're lucky, in some places you will get free parking on Sunday as well. And that is it for this video, guys. If you have any more questions, then leave them in the comments. I hope you found it useful and that you will have an unforgettable trip in Montenegro, just like we did. I hope you're ready now for the Bosnian vlogs, more Croatia vlogs, more Slovenia vlogs, just a lot more Balkan vlogs. If you are, then definitely subscribe, like this video if you did, and then I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!